So Stoffel, Christoffel, hoe gaan dit met jou?
Goed in South.
Sounds
Means
like
good in you.
Cunningham South. Chandler Cunningham South.
Yeah.
We're having a good chat there before I start recording, just about you nearly got to play in Twickenham.
So close, so close. I
Yeah,
mean, some of the boys was quite heartbreaking, but I said to them, they still have many years left. I'm an old boy. I don't think I'll get another chance, mate. But yeah,
yeah. What position were you playing? Were you playing hooker actually for this one or prop?
on the bench. So would have been on the
Oh,
bench covering loose, hooker, and back row. So
Jesus. Bit of a Dion Free.
yeah. I mean, I played as a young lad. I played hooker and back row most of my life. I was
Yeah.
small for hooker, but as you get older, I mean, I'm sure you'll know, you get a little bit bigger, slower. So I'm more suited for the front row at the moment. So
Yeah, like I mean, when I was younger, I used to play open side, and then like that, I'm only 26, but as the injuries start coming in, you start piling on the weight. It's second row. You're going second row. Best you're getting in the back row is number eight or six, which I don't mind. I love number eight. Number eight's a class position.
I love number eight. Yeah, my only challenge where we play is there's so many better eights than me, so I never
That's the
get
if
it
you can
right.
carry a ball, I think like you can play number eight, can't you? It's like if you're a good ball carrier, you're going in eight.
Yeah. My problem is just off the back of the scrum. I'm just so slow because age have caught up with me. The legs aren't there anymore, mate.
Yeah, and you know, when you're waiting for the ball, you have to have good hands. Sometimes people are looking up before they even pick the ball up, and then they drop it into the rows. Oh, there's lots to talk about actually in this. This is going to be interesting.
There's been some interesting ones, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to get to the final because I want to do the main talk about the URC final. But Winkgate, we got to talk about that.
Oh,
As a
I
Sharks
mean,
fan as well, like
I am a Sharks fan, so obviously I am a bit biased about it.
yeah,
Um, I mean, I think there's probably more made out of it than it should. I think there's a couple of bits that when I looked at it in hindsight, and obviously reading lots of people's comments about it and the views, I think there was a lot more made out of it. He he went down in a spot where he shouldn't have gone down. I mean, you could see he had cramp, but we've had cramp
Rossi made
before.
sure of
You can
that.
move over a little bit to the side, right? You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have to go down there. You can hobble 5 yards away. It's not that bad. It's cramp.
exactly. Yeah,
I think he did go down with cramp, but he made the most of it.
yeah.
I think the ref could have handled it a lot better. Crowley
That's
said,
exactly it.
ready to
Yeah,
go. Just let him go. Or just say to him, move to the side, right?
yeah, yeah.
But he didn't. He stopped it. Then there's the next thing is about five people charging on to come support, give water, and then it became just a complete farce. But I think if it was dealt with sooner by the referee, this would just blown over because bit of shithousery. All teams do it. I mean, James Lowe is great at it. Omani's done it. I mean, Joe Marler is the king of shithousery. I mean, so it's from that perspective, I don't see too much in it, but I thought the ref could have dealt with it a little bit better.
Yeah, I guess like the thing that really annoyed me about it was more so like people are saying it's the wink, it's like all this over a wink, but what I didn't like was just Hendrickson coming up trying to put Jack Crowley off his kick. It's like just get on with your own kick, don't worry about it, you know what I mean? And then like that, the cramp, Crowley, you can even hear him saying, "Fuck it, I'm taking it." And I thought the ref should have just let him take it. It's like, yeah, fair enough. If it is a cramp, fine. But like you said, roll over to the side, get out of the way. And why did the staff need to come on? I was more pissed off with them than Hendrickson because he's a bit of a shithouse. You know what you're going to get with him. But the staff coming on, and then I think they said something to Rory Scannell while he was taking a kick because he's not really the type to lose the head. You know, he's very quiet, level headed. I was like, are
There
they
were a lot
saying
of
something to
afters.
him? Yeah, I was kind of like, are they saying something to him because if the coaching staff are saying something, that's not on. Whatever about the
No,
players saying it, I don't really mind if
no.
players are having a
I
go at
mean,
each
I had
other.
a chuckle. I did have a chuckle because apparently Hendricks said to Crowley he's a 40% kicker because
Yeah, I heard
because
that.
which I think that is a bit funny. I mean, but still a bit of shithousery. But I think it's a lot of the after stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people who are moaning about the crowd and the booing. I mean, it's that is part and parcel of Southern Hemisphere rugby. You find it in most stadiums they do that, even Australia, New Zealand. Um, you know, if you're a good kicker, you don't really care about it. But I think if more made out of it. But yeah, Hendrickson made the most of it. definitely.
Yeah, yeah. I never liked him anyway, but I was
Well,
delighted for
he
Munster
only,
fans when he slipped twice. I was like, yes, get it.
yeah. I mean, he got his comeuppance the
He
week
did,
after
he did.
against the Bull, but he only probably started because Grant Williams was injured. But
Yeah,
um,
he kicked well, like I will say, but when you look at Jordan,
yeah,
Jordan's just really level-headed, and then Jaden makes up for a tenfold. But I was
ah,
delighted when
he's
I
a
was
number
shouting for the
nine.
Bulls.
Yeah, yeah,
Shout for the Bulls.
he's an out and out number nine. Proper horrible player who just nipping,
Yeah,
just constantly just trying to get under your skin.
yeah. Sure, remember Rory Cockett? He used to just get
Yeah, he played for the
right under
Sharks and
people.
ended up playing for France.
Yeah, I actually a lad that I coached me before went to school with him. A lad called
Yeah,
Gareth Marritz. Went to school in John's College, and he said that Rory Cockett and Scott Spedding, two South African fellas who played for
he played
France.
Sharks as well, and
Yeah,
then ended up playing
yeah,
for the French as well. Yeah.
yeah. Scott Spedding was a good player. I was surprised actually South Africa didn't pick him up because his kick as well. Like that, like, what happens in South Africa that they have lads that can kick from behind the halfway line? Francois Steyn and
I don't know where that comes from because normally in South Africa a lot of these players I mean apart from Spedding or Cocker playing in Durban which is down by the coast a lot of these really big kickers are Bloemfontein, Pretoria,
yeah,
Johannesburg which is at altitude and the ball just flies
yeah,
anywhere but
exactly.
then these boys come down to lower altitude at sea level and they still kick the same.
That's the thing that amazes me because it's like you see kickers taking on kicks that they wouldn't normally take. Like if Pollard's playing for the Bulls, you'll
Yeah,
see him in Pretoria take a kick behind the halfway line. But at Leicester, I haven't really seen it. If it's slightly in front of the halfway, he might have a go. You know, but
it makes a big difference all sports even like cricket when they're
yeah,
playing
oh yeah, the
Congress
ball
in
is traveling
Johannesburg
miles.
the ball when they hit it it goes so much further.
Yeah, which is it's cool to see because I remember when Ireland were playing in Ellis Park. And you could see Ireland did quite well, but the South African players' lungs were more developed for it. So as the game went on, Ireland were just gone. They'd given everything they could, and then South Africa pushed on from there.
It's the last 20 minutes that always starts to count against you when you play at altitude if you're not used to it.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
yeah.
It's a real challenge, like, and I think the South Africans used their bench well because do you remember that Lions team that was amazing when you had the likes of Janssen van Rensburg, you had Ruben Combrink, Warren Whiteley.
Yeah.
I think what they were really good at doing in that game in particular was they unloaded the bench with a load of Lions players, and then they just were able to deal with the conditions. Yako Creel as well, loads of really good players.
Good plays. Yeah, yeah, it was good play. Yeah, that's the one thing you do tend to get, especially I mean, normally when like the Bloemfontein, the Cheetahs play against the Bulls or the Lions play against the Bulls or each other, it's never such a big issue. It's always when the Sharks and the Stormers have to travel up because they all, still this is the bizarre thing. Everyone always thinks it's just the Northern Hemisphere teams struggling playing at altitude. A lot of the South African teams, the
Mm,
coastal teams, they
yeah.
travel up, they've got the exact same problem.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, it affects everyone. If you're not used to it, you're not used to it. We played, because Jake White used to be at Montpellier, and the fellow I was talking about earlier, Gareth Marritz, he knew him. So Jake White was able to get us a game against the under 18s Montpellier team at the time, and my club went out to play them, and just the size of them, and also the heat. We played, and it was like at one stage it was literally 32 degrees Celsius, like just the south of France. So we're talking prime time in the summer. We were all dying, and a few of the lads had been drinking before the game. I was like, oh my God, we are going to be murdered. I got to try now, so I was delighted with myself.
That's all right.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. And I didn't get absolutely floored either because they had some big boys.
Yeah, I mean the size of some of the under 19 players and under 18 players now is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and they had a couple of South African lads mixed in with French lads and a couple of French Polynesian lads. There was this
Yeah.
lad, I'll never forget him. Jimmy was his name, and he was from New Caledonia. He was like 130 kgs and 6'8", and he sent one of our guys into orbit. There was like, you grab one leg, I'll grab the other, and we'll try and bring him down. He's a monster. But the schoolboy system in South Africa is something else. Like some of the monsters that I've watched on YouTube.
Yeah, it's near enough professional.
Yeah,
I think most of the you could probably argue that the top 20 schools, they operate their school rugby system like a professional rugby club.
yeah.
Yeah, it's I can't remember, it's either Toulon or Toulouse. that built a high performance centre at one of the big schools in South Africa. I can't remember. It was either Paul Ruiz, Paul Jim, or Grey Cottage. One of them. I need to go have a look and just check it up again. To sort of, well, they said a high performance system, but it's a scouting system really. It's to try and
Yeah,
capture some of the
100%.
young lads who are missed in the system in South Africa and bring them across early on.
Yeah, it's kind of like they do that with Fiji as well, I think. They go over there and they find the best athletes. And I mean, I literally imagine that you take your forwards from South Africa and your backs from Fiji, you get one hell of a team. You're
And the
doing all
French
right.
don't care, right? They don't care. They got money. They just throw it at the teams. They don't care. As
Exactly.
long as you're playing and you're the best, happy days.
That's kind of it, yeah. Did you hear about the whole thing with Melvin Jaminet and the big scandal that went on with his wages?
No, no, no. I missed that one.
Yeah, so basically Toulouse said, "Can you pay your own buyout clause?" when he was at Toulon and, or sorry, no, Perpignan at the time, and he was like, "Yeah, because this is my boyhood club. Like Toulouse would have been the team he always wanted to play for." So he was
Yeah,
like, "I'll do anything to play for them." And then there was the did you hear about the incident where he racially abused someone? Where he was talking about
I saw. Yeah.
yeah, that got him in a lot of trouble. So then Toulouse were like bad publicity, ship him off, basically.
Oh, so he
You
was out of
know?
pocket then, or
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. That's what he was saying. He was like, okay, well, if you don't want me anymore, I want my sign-on fee. I paid my buyout clause. I want that back because I need to pay my my lawyer's fees. So
wow.
you're going to pay them for me. And they were like, no, we're not doing it. But there's been a huge investigation, and people are saying, well, when all the scrutiny happened with the likes of London Irish, Saracens, they were held accountable in fairness. And I thought it was dealt with quite well by the Premiership. But everyone's saying Toulouse are such big giants in rugby that nobody's going to touch them. Get rid of Toulouse, you get rid of one of the superpowers of rugby. It's very difficult to do anything against them. They've got the best lawyers, and as you say, lots of money to throw at everything.
Money talks. Money
Yeah,
talks, mate.
100%. Yeah, it was a shame, like because Jaminet is such a good player, but he was drunk and did something stupid. How many rugby players have done that? How many athletes have done that?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's always a tough one because when you're a pro rugby player or pro athlete or just a sports star, in the eye of the public, you need to be squeaky clean.
Of course, yeah. Speaking of which, there's another incident we can talk about, the Henry Pollock thing. What do you think of
Oh,
the
well,
Bordeaux players?
yeah, I did laugh about it
I
again.
did
I
too.
think, yeah, I think for the reaction afterwards was a bit much. Got a 2 week ban.
Yeah,
That's fine. But I think the general celebration, Um, I'm loving it. It's one of those. He's a young lad. He's a great up and coming star, future talent, world
yeah,
star in the making. He's got the rock star attitude, and unfortunately, if you want to give it, you have to take it. So,
that's it.
uh, it will be an interesting learning for him. I think him going on the Lions tour is going to be massive for his development. Just rubbing shoulders with all these big names, but yeah. I think it was a harsh sort of come back to reality. It grounded him a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's good for him because I think he was getting a bit too big for his boots, and like he is a very good player. But like that, if anyone wants to defend him, it's kind of like you give it, you got to be able to take it. If you start mouthing off, a guy is going to want to hit you harder. That's just how it works. I heard Jefferson
100%.
Porro, the loose head for Bordeaux. Apparently, he made a beeline for him. He was just looking for any reason to start on Pollock, and he came
Yeah.
off the bench.
He doesn't care. I think the team doesn't care.
Mm,
He gets banned for 2 weeks. He goes down a legend in the club for what he did. They'll just write it off as nothing.
yeah,
I think it is a bit hard, rough, doing that to a young lad. Whistler have gone, right? Something was probably said. He reacted in the way he shouldn't have, and we've all been there. But yeah, I think the club, the coach, the owners, they won't mind too much. The beer probably chased it as sweet there on the night out that it did without doing that, so he doesn't care.
yeah, exactly. I was there thinking at the end of it, is he wearing a cycling shirt? Because the whole thing was ripped. But apparently, what happened, I heard about it afterwards, was Fraser Dingwall and Matthew Jalibert got into it, so they start grabbing each other's jerseys. And then Pollock ran in, start grabbing Jalibert, who I thought had a great game. He had a really good final. But then Poirot just saw Pollock and was like, "Now's my chance," and then made a beeline for him. And so there were a lot of lads out to get him. Look, he is a great talent, no doubt about it. It's just like that. I don't think it's people being harsh. Everybody's like, he's only 20 and whatever. I think this is perfect. This is a chance for him to be humbled and to realise you've got to back
Yeah,
it up every week.
do it now.
Yeah, get it out of the
He'll
system.
learn. He's only 20. He's got a long time to go in his career still.
Yeah,
Will only be good for him.
yeah, 100%. Were you surprised by the line selection? Any decisions?
No, I mean it's interesting the last week or so with them looking at adding a few more players just for the Argentina game and what that looks like.
Yeah,
I think the squad's broadly there. Will be interesting to see key positions who gets picked to start.
yeah,
Um, I think broadly most people are sort of in agreement with, the vast majority of the players. I think if you look at, 9, 10, Park and Russell, I don't think there's any doubts about that. But then
mhm.
there's a lot of people going, okay, we go 12 and 13. It's a Tuipulotta and New Jones. It's an Aki and New Jones. I saw an interesting one, people suggesting that potentially against Argentina, you might see Tuipulotta and Aki at 12 and 13. I mean, that would be, you know, absolutely soiling myself if I'm an opposition saint and I got those two in front of me. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
it should be interesting.
yeah, definitely. So you pick Gibson Park and Russell.
Yeah, I'd go
Yeah,
Parker Russell. I mean, I was watching because I didn't get to watch the Leinster game against Glasgow. I was watching highlights on it earlier today, and some of these passing on Park is amazing. He's got a hell of a boot. Um, I think for me, the bet that probably is slightly more controversial is who's the nine on the bench, Mitchell or Thomas Williams. I get biased supporting Gloucester. I'll go Thomas Williams. I mean, he's just been voted Premiership Player of the Year.
yeah, yeah.
He's been unbelievable. So, I'd probably end up with him on the bench. Centre pair, you have to try and, I mean, Tuipulotu and Jones have been playing together so well. I mean, it's difficult not to pick them.
Yeah, definitely. The thing with if you went to Pilata and Aki, while you've got obviously as you say, you'd be soiling yourself, you have to go up against them.
Yeah.
Obviously, like though, the problem is they're both big crash ball fellas. You kind of need a ball player and a crash ball centre as well, don't
Yeah.
you? A little bit of a
And
blend because I remember before France tried that with Bastero and Jonathan Dante, and it didn't
yeah,
work. Everybody was thinking this is going to be a great partnership, but they were too slow, so they just chipped the ball in behind them. You know what I mean?
100%. The only time
Yeah,
where people have tried to do something, out of the box, if you go back sort of late 90s to early 2000s, where instead of having two big ball carriers and they used to play two fly-offs, 10
yeah,
and 12. If you know, Larkham and Gitto,
yeah.
Aaron Major and Dan Carter, that Luke McAllister was a 10, they used to play him at 12. So you had teams doing that, but that gives you more versatility where, like I said, the big boys, they do one thing and they carry one. That's what they do.
That's pretty much it, yeah. And like Luke McAllister, some quads on him. Did you ever see his quads?
I saw
Insane.
highlights
He
again
was a
this
big
week.
fella.
Oh, it was highlights of the I think it was the 2007 World Cup semi-final against France. Was it two? I
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
was one
He got sent
where
off in that.
again, yeah, just the absolute size of his legs were just
Mhm.
ridiculous, mate. See, props was half the size of him, mate. He was just massive.
He'd even rival Vilko Low.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, so it will be interesting. Same goes up in the packs. I mean, I think the selection around the loose forwards will be interesting as well. I've
Yeah,
had
so
many.
many good ones to choose from.
I mean, you got Ben Curry. I think will start. I don't think many people are leaving him out. But then the other two, is up for debate. People are going Ben Earl, and I've seen Conan. Is Jack Morgan. Some people say Ollie Chesham. Give him another
At
line-out
six.
option. It's. I mean that will be an interesting one to see who he actually ends up picking.
Yeah, for sure, because like that, you could go with a bigger fella in the back row. But thing is, I don't think you'll be so much tested physically. So, like, say for instance, if you were playing South Africa in the Lions tour, I might be more inclined to go with someone like Chesham or Atoje at six because you're going to need a bigger pack. With this, I think you get to kind of put an out and out back row on the pitch. You might even go two open sides if you want. England did three in the Six Nations, and it worked out pretty well. They got a lot of turnovers, so it could work. And then Van der Fleer, they said he was training, so we can get into the Leinster Bulls game soon. But he was out for the last game against Glasgow, but they're hoping that he will get back for the final. It's just I
I mean,
hope
on
he's
on
right for the
form,
Lions. Yeah,
yeah, on form, he's going to struggle to shift any of those other players. I mean, he's a world class player.
yeah,
Um, I had the same thinking about someone asked me about locks. Who do you put in at locks? I said, well, it just depends on whether Schmidt goes ahead and picks his overseas players because that's not been decided yet. Because he's got quite a few missing. One being Will Skelton. So
yeah.
if Will Skelton plays, I'd go Itoja and Big Joe and McCarthy. If Will Skelton is not playing, well, you have to look at Tag Burn. He's been unbelievable. Even in the loss against Sharks for Munster, he was all over the place.
For me, it's
He's
Tyke Byrne all day. I
such a
just think
player.
like he's so
So,
good.
so you got him, and even likewise, if you end up with Joe McCarthy along with Itoje, Tag Burn can go on the blind side. He can also play back row.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a hell of a decision to choose who you're going to start with.
Yeah, because I mean, if you go with say Taniela Tupou and Will Skelton, that's some serious amount of beef coming down on the tight head sides. You're going to need something to combat that. Um, yeah, I think Australia are going to give the Lions a good game. I think it's going to be a good tour. I think they're coming at the right time. They're getting really good. The back line looks quite sharp. It's going to be exciting. I don't think the Lions can underestimate Australia. I think a big loss as well actually has been, while we're on the subject of the pack, Xander Fagerson's out, so that's a huge one because Furlong's not exactly playing his best, and Finley Bealham's been brought in. So I'd kind of worry for the scrum, which I didn't think I'd be saying.
No, no. I mean, you probably end up with what Genge and Will Stewart along with Sheehan in the front, but like you say, who else is there? Skuman,
Mm.
he can go, but you're starting. I mean, Tag Furlong, Xander Ferguson, massive loss.
Andrew Porter as well. I was thinking likely
Yeah,
it could be Porter over Genge, but I think Genge did quite well in the Six Nations, so
yeah,
maybe on the bench.
and he's had some good form for Bristol like, as well. He's been
Yeah,
playing really
no,
well.
he has. And Will Stewart's been very good. In fairness, I've been impressed
Good
with him
scrummager.
at
Yeah,
bat.
good scrummager.
So you got
I
like for me, I would say I'd like Genge and Stewart to kind of finish the game for me. But the last half an hour, 25 minutes, I think their bulk and size could really help out. Um, Porter has been doing exceptionally well, played big minutes, so we know we can do it. I just really hope he stays fit for Ireland as well. But yeah, brings us on nicely. The URC final. What do you think?
I yes, Leinster's never lost at Croke Park.
Mm,
So history says it's theirs to win. And I think on
yeah,
paper, favourites, the Bulls are a big, strong team. If the final was in Pretoria, I'd say probably different game.
yeah,
But
100%.
it being in Ireland at Croke Park, the crowd's going to be absolutely rammed. I can only see it going one way. Um, yeah. So let Leinster to win by 10 for me.
Yeah, I'm thinking this would be the perfect way to shut people up after the kind of embarrassment, when they played Northampton. I'm there thinking to myself, that was quite a bad performance and a big letdown for everybody. But if they can get some silverware, I think that kind of undoes all the negative criticism. It's like they might
It's
not have
been
done,
years now.
yeah. Well, that's it. Like, so at least they might not have got to the final of the Champions Cup, but at least they've won some silverware. So you can say that you can kind of turn around and go, yeah, but we have won something. So that kind of gets people off Leo Cullen's back for a little bit anyway.
Yeah, and they looked good against Glasgow. I mean, they
Mm.
were shifting the ball. Like I said, I just can't see one. I mean, obviously biased again. Would be nice if the Bulls did win, but it's a tough ask. If they do it, hats off to them. But yeah, Leinster for the win for me.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of people who are delighted with you saying that. But yeah, like I mean, I kind of forgot that the Bulls have actually been in two finals and lost them. So we talk about Leinster bottling, but the Bulls have done it as well, which is kind of surprising. You
Yeah, the
know,
last one being losing against Glasgow in
in
in Pretoria.
Pretoria. Yeah,
Which
that's a
which
mad
that
one.
was that was a shock. That was a
Yeah,
complete
yeah.
shock to me. But I was thinking that if Glasgow had a good run against Leinster, beat Leinster, then Bulls might have a shout again. Payback. But yeah, Leinster just looked too good.
Yeah, the worrying thing for me with Leinster is that they were pretty dominant in that game, but they slipped in it was in the last 10 minutes. Glasgow scored two very soft tries, and I kind of thought to myself, you can't do that against the Bulls. Like the last time Leinster played the Bulls and lost in Pretoria, I know like if you only lose by a point in Pretoria, nobody's giving out to you. It's kind of like, ah, yeah, well, you did all right, but the Bulls didn't exactly play very well. That's the thing that I was looking at. They dropped a lot of balls and they had to rely on their set piece, but their set piece was formidable. The maul and the scrum. And I'm just thinking like Leinster could have won that game. 2 points ahead and it's in full time. Get the ball in, get it out of the scrum, and then kick it off the pitch. And every time the ball came in, the Bulls got the shove on and Leinster just folded. I kind of thought to myself, that's terrible game management. That was theirs to win. They had it wrapped up at full time. So there's just been some very bad game management by Leinster, and I'm hoping on Saturday that's all gone because the Bulls will be coming for blood.
Oh yeah, I think if the Bulls want to have any chance, I mean Prendergast needs to be their target. He's a
Yeah,
good player, still young and inexperienced, and if they can put pressure on him, because if you look at the Northampton game, that's what they did. They just went all out, right, and then just completely disrupt them. Maybe they've got a chance because they've got some really exciting backs, got big forwards. It's they're not a Mickey Mouse team. I mean, they made the final, and you have to be bloody good to do that. So if you're in it, you've got a chance.
yeah, exactly. And it's always gas. It's ironic that their name is the Bulls because they always produce bulls in the pack. Like they're always huge. Like they've been doing it for years now. Phil Colo for me is like one of the best tight heads in the world. I'm surprised he hasn't got more Springbok caps because whatever pack he's in, he just dominates. He's so strong, and those we talk about quads, but he's got
It is. I mean,
some of the
I
best
mean,
legs I've seen.
that's been one of our riches over years in the last few years because you had Vincent Koch, you had Franz Malaba, Oxenchair, Thomas the Toy. It's just they are massive units.
Yeah.
So it's one that we've been very lucky. There's always another big blow coming behind you. So I'm sure Wilco Loeb will be around in the Springbok pack in the next year or so. Um, you know, so let's see what happens on that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, like when you do have a big pack like they have, you can rely on it because if the ball's not going to hand and like that last time that the Bulls played Leinster, there was a few sloppy hands, but it didn't matter because they could always rely on the maul and the scrum. And to be fair to the Bulls, like I have to give them credit against the Sharks. Three yellow cards. They held out so well. Their defense was incredible. Big loss though, Cameron Hanekom. That's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, in the injuries, they're already talking who's next because Visa is coming back from injury in the next week or two, so he'll be joining up with the Springbok camps. I mean, it's going to be an interesting one to see what the Springboks do in the internationals because we've got some random international tests coming up.
Yeah.
Um, but it's I think it's a great time to try out some new things, get some younger players in, and then you use it again as a stepping stone because we got obviously August come the championship again.
Yeah. And I mean, so right in saying Evan Rullis is coming in. He was called up.
There was a lot of, I mean, I saw a lot of articles before when the original squad was announced and he
Yeah.
wasn't in there. People said, his time will come and that. But then obviously he's now benefited from, unfortunate injury, but he's got a chance.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Hopefully he can take it, but yeah, it is a big loss because Hanekom's kind of like your out
oh,
and out back rower. Like he just gets over the ball so well. He's quite physical, and then obviously a nice balance with Norkia and Marcel Coetzee. We know him well at his time at Ulster.
all set. Yeah, ex-Shark as well.
Yeah,
Ex-Shark.
yeah,
We've shipped so many players off to
yeah. You
Ulster
have, you
for
have.
years. But BJ Buerta, Johan Miller, Marcel Coetzee, Louis Ludik. I mean, bloody hell, they might as well just,
Let's not
get
forget
sort of
Craig Burden. Craig Burden and the
Big
Duplessis
Burden, yeah,
brothers.
ended up in Toulon as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the Duplessis, like that's a huge one. Bismarck,
Yeah. Yeah, you've got
Yanni.
big signing. Ulster signed Duplessis.
Yeah. So that's another one, but I'm hoping we can develop a few more of our players in Ireland. It seems to be a lot now where players are just taking the leftovers from Leinster. Teams are just coming in and they're saying, "Okay, you don't want them, we'll take them." But it's like I'd like to see more development in Ireland from those academy systems like Munster, Connacht, and also Ulster. We all know how good Leinster are, but if they don't win the final, I mean, it's a big if, but we have seen them bottle a few finals. A lot of questions are going to need to be asked. You know,
There'll be pitchforks and torches.
absolutely, and I'll be the first one there.
It's been many years. Well, we'll see what they do. I mean, it's one of those. They go, history, never lost at Croke Park, but then look at their recent years and winning cup finals and things like that. Um, but you only need to get that one over, and then you're fine. South Africa had it. They used to joke, say, yeah, well, no team's ever won the Tri Nations Championship and a World Cup in the same year. We did it. And then suddenly, well, that record's gone. No one talks about it anymore. You get that monkey off your back and it's done.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to ask any questions if Leinster can go and actually win some silverware. And actually, I think people will be like, okay, look, it wasn't perfect. They lost the semi final to Northampton. But rather than making the final of the Champions Cup and losing, and then the semi final of the URC, you'd rather just win some silverware. You don't care how you do it, just get some,
Yeah.
And if they can do that, I'll certainly cut them a huge amount of slack and say, fair play, you did it. You won something. But I think Prendergast is going to need to be on his game and take his points. He left 11 points out there, and some of them were very kickable. That was the worrying thing. So if they can rattle them, the Bulls, then like you say, they can shut down Leinster's whole game plan.
Yeah, no, I mean he's the target, right? He's
Yeah,
he's the key for me is if they can get on him, he's got a bad game. The Bulls got a chance.
yeah, 100%. That's the thing. Just knock him off his game, and because a lot of Irish plays come from 10,
Yeah,
it's very easy if you can just knock the 10 off their confidence. Like if Johnny Sexton used to get knocked off, then he was done. He'd go out of games and be a passenger. And I just really hope that doesn't happen on Saturday. I feel like this is Leinster's to lose. I think a lot of people would agree with me with that.
yeah,
But be prepared for a physical test because the Bulls will bring it.
yeah.
And then even
Premiership final thoughts?
that's an interesting one now. I can't really call it because I don't really watch much Premiership. What about you? Who are you going with?
Bath.
Yeah,
Um,
they have had great form all season.
yeah, they've been flying. I mean, they've got the cup. They've already won the Premiership Cup. They've got the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, and they
Uh,
were impressive in that. Like, I did watch the Challenge
so
Cup.
yeah, so they've got two trophies already this season,
Yeah,
and they've been playing really well. But again, Finn Russell, Spencer at nine, they've got a really good pairing in 9 and 10, just control the game. And everyone else has been firing. The scrum's been really well. Will Stewart, Thomas the Toy.
yeah.
So it's going to be interesting because obviously you got Leicester's got Andre Pollard at 10.
Mm.
Uh, Jack van Poortvliet were at 9. So, again, good pairing, but we'll see who comes out on the day. I think Bath will win just by form. They've been doing really well. Um, so yeah, it should be an interesting. I'm playing cricket on Saturday, so I'll have to watch everything on replay, which is going to be it's an absolute nightmare because all the matches are on when I'm out standing in a field in the middle of nowhere.
Just waiting to catch a ball.
Yeah. I'll ask someone to get the radio or something going on the side and just
Yeah.
shouting the score updates.
Just looking at the phone. The ball's coming to you. The ball's catch it, catch it. No, it's fun to play. Like I've only played it once, but it is fun. You play. We call it rounders as well. Where you just it's like baseball, but you run around. Same idea. It's a
Yeah,
lot of
but, I
fun.
mean, standing in a field in the sun, having a pint of beer afterwards is,
Or
it's not
during.
too bad. Yeah.
Sometimes during Freddie Flintoff, he said he used to drink before.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, but no, it's gonna be a good weekend. I've actually tried to get a few Aviva Premiership or Gallagher Premiership as it is now. I always keep calling it Aviva, but there's so many different channels, so I'm just there kind of going, look, I'll watch the URC and
Yeah.
I'll try and watch the Challenge Cup whenever I can. But I have been impressed with Bath's pack. Like even against Leinster, they really challenged them, and Will Stewart was very impressive. And Thomas Detoy is a machine as well. So like if Finn Russell gets that dominant pack, he usually just is free to ping the ball around and put people into space. Um, and de Glanville, he's a player that I've really been impressed with when I've seen him. He got two tries against Leinster, and he's just very good attacking. And Ted Hill, the man who can't seem to get a cap for England.
Yeah, how he's not been selected, yeah, is unbelievable. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Weather-wise, it looks good, so it's not going to be. I mean, we've had some downpours today, and there's some more to come. But the weather's forecast is supposed to be good, so there'll be plenty of running rugby, which is just great. Because again, if you look at Leinster, they've got Leicester, apologies, they've got some really exciting backs. Ollie Hassel-Collins, Radwan. I mean, they've got some lightning on the bench in the back or on the pack, on the pitch rather. So that will be good.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's Leicester have always been one of those teams that are thereabouts. Bath have kind of been up and coming for a while, but now they've really cemented their place as a top team. That's good to see. Like they've always had good players, but nah, very impressive when I've watched them. And I've been really looking forward to seeing a few Premiership games, and hopefully I'll be able to catch the final because it looks like it's going to be a cracker. First and foremost, I want to get the URC one. I want to make sure Leinster actually do something. This is their time. This is their time. And best of luck in the cricket at the weekend, anyway, mate. I hope you enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a bit for coming on again. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, more welcome. Well, I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, thanks very much. It's been great talking to you again, mate. We wrap it up there. Is that all right? I'll let you get on, prepare for the cricket.
Nice one. Thanks, Dan. Speak soon, mate.
Cheers, mate. See you.
Cheers, bye.
Bye bye.